when the United States decided to fight against the Russians about Ukraine, right? It was quickly understood, even before the war started, that Russia has, if not the greatest nuclear weapons in the world, second to the United States, and not a distant second, if it's at all second. Which means nuclear war is out. You couldn't possibly pick a worse choice than Russia to have a nuclear war with. I mean, pick China, pick anybody, Russia's got them. So there's not going to be a nuclear war. The two sides understand that would be crazy. Neither of them cares enough about Ukraine to run such a risk. Okay, what does that mean? Well, it means that if there's going to be a war, it's a conventional war. Army, Navy, Air Force in a war. Okay. But then you don't want to fight Russia because Russia has a fantastic record in these kinds of wars. I mean, Napoleon tried and got defeated. And Kaiser Wilhelm tried and got defeated. And Adolf Hitler tried and got defeated. Do you really want to fight the Russians in an armed conventional war? The United States understood that. They really did. So they came up with the great way to victory: sanctions. Russia's a small economic unit. Russia's dependent on exporting oil and gas. We are the United States, and we have allies, the Europeans, and we're going to say to the Russians, we're going to sanction you. They did. This is the quote I'm quoting. I didn't make these things up. Mother of all sanctions. That's what they called it. We're hitting you with this, and then we're sanctioning oligarchs. We're sanctioning industries. We're sanctioning companies. We're sanctioning the whole country. We're sanctioning. And it was the biggest program of sanctions. There are thousands of sanctions right now on Russia. But the big one was Europe would stop buying. And to drive the point, the oil and gas, and to drive the point home, remember? They blew up the undersea cable, the undersea gas pipeline, right? I mean, extraordinary action to stop the Russians from exporting their number one moneymaker. That was going to bring them to their knees. The president said so. What wasn't calculated was that the Russians have a way to avoid the impact of the sanctions. Not the usual way, because sanctions are quite easy to evade. There's a book, I forget the author's name, but there's a book, a few years old, which is a study of sanctions. And the whole point of the book is to show you, done by some academic professor somewhere in the United States here, the whole point of the book is to show you that the sanctions never work. Country after country, he goes to, it's very good analysis. Anyway, it's not that. The mistake made by Biden and his people was not to understand the importance of China and its allies, known as the BRICS. You know, Belgium, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, and the dozen other countries that are now part of that. What Russia did is say, okay, I don't have to sell it to you. I'm going to sell it to India and China. End of you lose. I got my money is coming in. Here's the joke: when you sell it to India, it just goes on another ship and goes right back to Europe. Russia is still selling its oil to Europe. It's just
a new middleman.
Yeah, but the beauty, they never understood because they didn't understand. They didn't understand that if you don't handle intellectually the change in the world, you're going to make catastrophic strategic mistakes. They lost the war in Ukraine. Russia now occupies a quarter of that country. They lost because the sanctions didn't work. And they didn't work because you didn't understand what this new configuration of the world economy is. So your sanctions aren't going to work. They're not going to work for 5 minutes. They don't even have to sneak around. They got these two monster countries. China and the BRICS is 55, I believe, percent of the world's people. United States has 4.5% of the world's people. You can't overcome that. That's just light, that's light and day or whatever. It's just, you got to face this. You can't pretend you are not in the 1960s and 70s. You're just not. But we live in a country of, as my psychotherapist wife says, denial. And what we got is a country and a leadership that is committed deep down to denial. It's like watching the Europeans now. They couldn't defeat the Russians with the Americans backing them up. The Americans have now pulled out, and they're babbling to one another how they're going to do it. That's a joke. Not even a good one. That's a joke. That's so pathetic, it's painful. It's embarrassing to watch you talk. Keir Starmer, a relatively new prime minister in England, is wanting to send troops to Ukraine. You want to go down in history as the shortest prime minister ever? You do that, you idiot. What? What is it? Yeah, these are not stupid people. I don't mean idiot in that way. It's just, this is an idiotic. It's like the Hail Mary pass. We can do better than that. We are not in the last 2 seconds. We are not. Don't do that. There's no need for this. But nobody asked that question. Everybody's enthralled with, going to hit them with a tariff, and I'm going to raise the tariff.